All right, so no, we're not using the PowerPoint. One more round of applause for their participation.
All right, my name is Robert Taliaferro. I'm your moderator for this session. Formerly incarcerated, doctoral candidate, been out, I did 38 and a half years, been out 3. So, today, pedagogy of the, don't you hate that word? I hate that word. Pedagogy of formerly incarcerated faculty within higher education and prison programs. It's a program that's going to be, the panel is going to be Brandon Warren, Tracy Williams, and David Carrillo. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then tell you all about it. And then at the end of this session, we'll have Q&A for both panels.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so we do have an excessively long title, just as yours, Pedagogy of the formerly incarcerated teaching within higher education and prison programs. But thankfully, everybody in the room understands HEP is short for higher ed and prison. So my name is Brandon Warren. I spent time in prison as a young adult. I worked my way through the educational system while I was there and then upon release, so that now I have a Master of Philosophy, a Master of Theology, and a Doctorate of Education. So, I have been working within departments of corrections since 2011. Shortly after parole, I was allowed to come into the Darrington Maximum Security Prison south of Houston to help start a 4-year accredited seminary program for men with long-term sentences. For men with long-term sentences. Then I moved on to community college, where we served 9 different prisons in the Texas area, and I helped start a reentry program there, a reentry department. And for the last not 10 months, I've been in Colorado working with Adams State University for another innovative program to help folks who are in prison, who have a master's degree, become adjunct professors while they are currently incarcerated. So those are some. So one of the things I noticed, so I've been to NCHEP every year since 2017, except for COVID that year. But one of the things that I noticed is that we have plenty of formerly incarcerated folks who are always a part of this, and formerly incarcerated folks who have become successful in life as a result of their education, who continue working in schools and universities or in activism and policy legislation. But it's a much smaller population of students who are working as professors for a university in a prison. And so I happen to know some of that very small population. And so that is the criteria for having been on this panel. We did have a third panelist who wasn't able to make it. But the criteria was that they had served 25 consecutive years or more, had earned either a bachelor's or master's degree while incarcerated, had a formal teaching role while they were inside prison, and now that they are out, are teaching for an accredited higher ed and prison program. So that's very specific criteria, a very small population of people. But I think their insight is valuable specifically for this conference because it's the education, the transformation that occurs via the vehicle of education that is important, and what better way to gather the advice from people who have earned the education inside, taught inside, and now teach from the outside. So with that, I will have our 2 panelists introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy Williams, and currently I serve as the director of Reentry Services. Dr. Warren kind of passed the baton on to me for a college and prison program. Not only that, I serve as Pathways program director for a grant. I have the distinct responsibility in Texas to serve on the Prison Education Advisory Committee of stakeholders for the state. I was a part of the CELA cohort group 3. But like Dr. Warren said, I did 25 and a half years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and it's reminding to me that, the judge that sentenced me said that I was going to die in prison. So 25 and a half years in prison, I served in the capacity in the program that he spoke about. I served as one of the inaugural group of this program where I received my bachelor's degree. And I served in the capacity of being able to teach in prison many different things, even creating a reentry curriculum to teach students. Currently, I graduated in 2023 from the University of Texas at Arlington with a master's in public administration. And this fall, I'll start my PhD at the University of Texas Tech. Just remembering the judge said I would die in prison. So I'm happy to be here on this panel. And currently, I'm a Texas government instructor as well as instructor of intro to U.S. Government as well.
Hi, my name is David Carrillo. Quick little background about myself. I was involved in a case in 1993 when I was 19 years old that resulted in me being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. I spent over 30 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. My first 15 years, I was involved in as much trouble as you can possibly imagine in the system. Spent many years in solitary confinement. I reached a point where I felt that something needed to change. This couldn't be the best that this world had to offer, this lifestyle had to offer. So I began to pursue education. I earned an associate's degree in paralegal studies from the Paralegal Institute associated with Arizona State University. I earned a bachelor's of science in business administration with an emphasis in legal studies from Adams State University. And then I went on to earn a master's in business administration from Adams State University as well. This was This was prior to the Pales coming back. I had to do this, pay for the programming myself. I had to find support, help, and also earn the money myself to help pay for my education. I did it via correspondence courses, so there were no classrooms involved. Upon receiving my master's degree, graduation ceremony was held where Adams State had come up to provide me with my master's hood, which was an amazing event. And during that graduation ceremony, Lauren Hughes from Adams State offered me a job to be the first currently incarcerated individual, to be an adjunct instructor to teach other currently incarcerated individuals undergraduate college level courses. I created and developed the curriculum inside for introduction to business, for macroeconomics, and for microeconomics. I taught for a couple of semesters while I was inside, and then the governor granted me clemency. I was released after over 30 years on January 31st of 2024, so I've been home just over a year. I continue to work for Adams State University. I also work for Red Rocks University, Red Rocks Community College, and I just recently am learning that I'm going to be onboarded for CU Denver. I continue to teach inside. I continue to work for the prison education programs. I've been back inside to teach. The first facility I went back inside to was the facility I was released from, so that was pretty interesting in and of itself. And, I continue to work for advancing education in prison, higher education in prison. I think it's important. It opens up the doors, literally and figuratively, for all of us.
So I think for those of us, especially who are working in the faculty and teaching side, these guys are superstars in what they've already accomplished and what they are primed to continue to accomplish in the future. I mean, just wonderful stories and sort of the impact they have and the things they've created has been excellent. So with that, I wanted to start asking a few questions from you all. One of which is, just by the way, when I was thinking through the criteria for this, and I said that they had formally recognized teaching roles inside the prison, people start tutoring on the day room on their own, or they start leading Bible studies or something like that. That's not what I meant. What I meant was something that was recognized. So, for example, being a peer educator is a common term among different prisons. Teaching something like moral recognition therapy, thinking for change, cognitive intervention, or GED, some sort of formally recognized by the institution, that sort of a role. So when you all were teaching inside, whatever the course may have been, have any of the strategies or the methods that you used in order to help get the information across, have they changed any now that you're teaching from the outside?
It's a great question, Brandon. So from teaching inside, and I was a part of peer education, being a peer educator and a tutor for cognitive intervention, and helped create a reentry curriculum on the inside, which was 6 to 8. We went up to 12 weeks. And as a part of the program that Dr. Warren talked about earlier, this seminary program, which has influenced a lot of other programs around the nation, which came from Angola, their prison seminary program. And being a part of that inaugural class, we were sent out to units. And there's one thing about individuals in prison, people that have been served the long sentences, they make the culture. They are the practitioners of everything that goes on inside of prison. And I had been locked up for many years. And so your credibility of who you are is first and foremost. I remember learning that in Greek societies that, if you were going to be an orator, you had to have ethos, pathos, and logos. And so with that, my content was not only good when I was teaching because of my character. So, and I had a passion for what I was doing. So that was a strategy on the inside that I focused on. And so being someone that was real in the eyes of the individuals I was teaching, they understood that our experiences were the same. And so with that, I always tried to contextualize with using prison examples. So now, when I go back into prisons, the 9 different units that we're on, the prisons that are on, and I taught for Carrillo LaGrange University virtually. But have taught ethics as well as Texas government. So when I go back into the units, the teaching strategies that I use is some of the same that I used when I was inside prison. But now I have a greater platform because I have a hope-inspired teaching method. This hope-inspired teaching method is when people are able to see me, they're able to relate, to say, if this person can do it, I can do it, and they have a greater respect for me. And so using that method, it's not only makes it more relatable, but it's inspiration to them. And it's a greater respect because they know I know what it's like to be where they are. All the different barriers that the previous panel kind of touched on of the lockdowns, being late for class. I know what it's like. And so they respect me more.
Yeah, that credibility is key, but I have a different answer for that. So I taught, prior to being afforded the opportunity to be an adjunct instructor for Adams State University, teaching college classes. I had taught the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for about 15 years. So I was kind of comfortable teaching material. I created a couple of other cognitive renewal-based programs that I taught as well. But when I was offered the job, DOC was actually, the Colorado Department of Corrections were very supportive of it. So working with Adams State University and the Colorado Department of Corrections, they actually put me up for success. They set me up for success with this. They didn't set me up to fail. They enrolled me in a program that was offered by Red Rocks Community College that I began to teach after I was released, which was known as the Adult Basic Education Authorization. Through this program, I learned how to write lesson plans. I learned how to prepare for class. I learned how to teach because the Adult Basic Education Authorization Program was a class that was to teach how to teach the GED, but more specifically, how to work with adult learners. And this is where I learned the concept of andragogy. Pedagogy, we have this title, pedagogy here, but when I learned about the concept of andragogy, which is how to teach adult learners, that became my focal point. So I began to understand how to set my classroom up on the inside with the andragogical concepts in mind, the theory, and that also transferred to the streets. So not only did I get to come into the classroom in the prisons with the credibility of having served as much time as I had, inspiring individuals to want to achieve something better for themselves, but I was able to also create a classroom environment that took these theories and helped to set up my students for success by opening up the classroom to adult learners as opposed to children.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue into the next question, which is, have you noticed any contemporary learning theories, methods, strategies like andragogy, critical pedagogy, learning styles theories, any of these contemporary ideas that have been either consistent with or very different from the way that you would normally teach? So you did mention andragogy is very helped you understand, but for both of you, is there any contemporary teaching methods or theories that are consistent with or undermine the way that you normally teach?
It kind of was interesting. So when teaching 7 Habits, for example, we were in a program that was about helping to better ourselves. So I always kind of tried to open up the classroom to what was best for the individuals at the time, right? I would shape the conversation based on who was in the classroom at the time. Because even inside of the penitentiary, you have different people, different motivations, different mindsets, different cultures, different stories. And so even teaching something like a cognitive renewal-based program, you need to be able to adapt to the classroom. With andragogy, it's student-driven. And so you need to be able to, again, adapt to the class that you have at the time, because not every class is the same. For those of you who have taught, you can understand that when you have 1 semester of students, the next semester can be an entirely different environment, right? You'll have different attitudes, different personalities, different types of things. So you need to be able to understand what are the motivations of that particular classroom at the time in order to be able to shape how you present the material that is necessary for them to be able to satisfy the requirements of completing the particular program. So understanding that thing has helped to drive all of that. And I think learning those theories has helped me to be more effective in my teaching as well.
I think you said something real key is about the adaptability when you are using these teaching strategies, because so many individuals in your classroom come from all different diverse backgrounds, different races, they have different worldviews. And so being adaptable in the classroom, all students are not created the same. Let me say that again, all students are not created the same. And so something that I've always reminded myself is even when I was in school, that some people are not great test takers, other people are not great writers. And so, finding the balance of using these different teaching strategies, sometimes you have to make students responsible in some types of like choice-based learnings when it comes to like topics or different things in the classroom. But a lot of things in the classroom, the strategies that I like to use is I like to allow students to be able to dialogue, meaning using a Socratic method of pulling answers out of individuals and allowing them to express their ideas, because people in prison are very opinionated sometimes. And they have a lot of great ideas. And so that type of learning is something that I like to do, is to be able to pull this from students.
Speaking of their opinionatedness, what ways have you been able to incorporate any kind of feedback from the students, whether that was through any sort of formal assessments that the university or college might require, or just in informal discussions? How or in what ways have you incorporated feedback from them?
No, me, myself, I continue to evolve, because at the end of the class, I mean, I know that they're going to get that review, right? They're going to get that paper that says, here, grade your professor, right? And, but I like to ask my students, how did I do? You tell me, what could I have done that would help make this class better? And I listen to them, I take notes of that, and I always try to keep that in mind when I start the next class. How can I make this next experience better for my students, based off of what my prior class has helped to inform? And so I'm constantly on the, I'm continuing to learn as well, right? I'm not just the teacher in the room, because I'm definitely not the expert. We have a lot of experts in that room sometimes. But they definitely will provide me with some honest feedback, especially in the penitentiary, right? They'll let you know what's really going on, especially when they know you, right? They're going to tell you, hey, man. So I'm always evolving and adapting based upon their feedback.
So just briefly, when you're using the students' feedback or hearing their voices, is students like to have a seat at the table and, in their learning. And so we like to use the term just keeping it real. If I miss something, just let me know, because yes, this will help me as a lifelong learner, as well as somebody that is a teacher. Be real. And that's something, that we get from people in prison. They're going to keep it real. They're going to tell you. And so, as practitioners, and many people that is in the audience, is people in prison like when you are real and transparent with them. And so, I can't say that enough,
Yeah, just last thing, I guess we're running out of time. One of the ways I met Tracy was in 2011 when we started the bachelor's degree program. I was hired to begin teaching their introductory class to academic skills and prepare the students for college life, essentially. And Tracy was in that very first class back in 2011. So I've known him this whole time, and we've worked together in different capacities. But I definitely, I've apologized to him repeatedly over the years, because that was my first time teaching a college class. And so I got a lot of feedback all the time about just, was it a fire hydrant of information, not being in depth, and so I hope that I have improved over the years as a direct result of their unapologetic, sometimes intrusive feedback. I guess that's all we had time. We're supposed to end at 10:50. So thank you all, and hopefully we can do more of this with a variety of guests, because I think learning these pedagogical or andragogical strategies is important. Did you go to
Okay, thanks a lot. First, let's give another round of applause. I was one of those students inside that I had a wealth of opinion, because I was always, I'm several years, maybe 20, 30 years older than my professors. And, former Army and all that type of stuff, so I had opinions. So, you know how that is. Please.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexa.
1 second, raise your hand.
Awesome. I'm from Texas. I have a question for Brandon. When you were doing the criteria for this panel, teaching experience and teaching, how many females were on that list?
I don't know anyone right now. I'm waiting on you to finish your degree, Alexa.
I did. I was just curious, because I'm from Texas and I was incarcerated as well with Tracy and Brandon, and I love it when they speak on all their experiences of GEDs and tutoring and all the great things. And I was like, it wasn't like that for me.
Say it louder.
And I just wanted to point that out, that Lee College is a great model, and I love Lee College. Lee College is great, but there's 130,000 individuals incarcerated in Texas, and 10,000 of females, and we're not a correctional afterthought. We need to do better. And it's not like pointing fingers, but just want to.
Hi, my name is Kurt Danish. First of all, thank you. You guys are an inspiration. A lot of this focus has been education here, and I just don't believe we can have HEP programs without talking about trauma. So what do you guys do to make the classroom trauma informed?
So,
You know, see it, right?
microphone.
Say it loud.
You know, my classrooms on the inside were quite diverse. It included, you know, in a prison environment, you're dealing with prison politics and mindsets, right? It's way different on the inside than it is on the outside. And when I have a classroom that's full of the different races, different backgrounds, and even transgenders, I need to make sure that my classroom is safe. As far as trauma informed, I'm informed and my students are informed using andragogical methodologies. This is student driven, right? If you're familiar with andragogy, andragogy actually helps to create a safe environment through a student-driven type of programming that doesn't require me to stand in front of the classroom for an entire class perhaps and explaining all of the potential traumas that somebody may or may not be involved in. So utilizing the andragogy model, this helps me to create an environment that addresses potential traumas without making anybody feel uncomfortable by having to express what sort of traumas they themselves may be experiencing.
I don't know if you asked the question for the whole panel, but I did want to chime in. Also in part because I did teach in a Texas women's prison. And I guess one example, and it goes back to actually a question that you asked that I thought was brilliant around like how you assess and give feedback. So as someone, I'm a learning scientist by training, which you're probably not a learning scientist, but one of the things that we learn is like how do you co-create kind of curriculum with students? And so how do you also create in the syllabus that flexibility to then get their feedback as you're teaching, right? And so one of the things, so this is when I was teaching, what classes? This was like an introduction to college writing course. And so we were at the point in the semester where we were about to start reading a novel together. And one of the novels that they got to choose between was Toni Morrison's Sula. And so if you're familiar with the text, you know that there is an incident of infanticide in the text itself. And so in choosing the book, what I did, where I was between two, because we only had two full sets of books, right? We all understand the limited resources. So what I did was kind of have a conversation with my students and ask them, like, hey, let me give you an introduction of what this book's about and this book's about. This book touches on infanticide, so I want to hear from you all, is this a text that we should collectively engage? Knowing well that there might be students in my class who might be there for similar type family offenses. And so I told them, if anyone responds in the slips, and it's an anonymous kind of slip, that they are not comfortable engaging, then we're gonna pivot and go to another text. And so I think sometimes trauma-informed means engaging them as co-creators of the curriculum itself, so that they can also signal to you where they are in their healing process. And in that moment, they weren't ready to engage that text, right? Because it could have brought up something that they were still moving through. So I think that there's ways and very simple practices that you can incorporate that could provide kind of a trauma-informed lens.
Yeah.
So I know we're short on time, and I don't know you, sir, but that was a great question. I don't know if you ever taught inside of prison, and with individuals inside of prison, with the different, the atmosphere and the environment that you're in, you have to always think about the safety of the class, the individuals in there, the different cases they may have. And I realize that trauma goes a lot deeper than, you know, what we always portray, you know. And so being adaptable in there and getting your students' feedback is how, you know, you have a trauma-informed classroom. So I hope, you know, the answers that, you know, we provided help you with your question.
Thank you. One question.
Thank you. Kudos to everybody on the panel. I'm Jamie Webster. I'm a college professor at Bluegrass Community and Technical College in Lexington, Kentucky. And I've taught at universities, but I'm also teaching at North Point Prison in Danville, Kentucky, in medium security, and also minimum security, Blackburn in Lexington. And I love teaching in prisons. I love the inmates. I just have a heart. And I believe in the credibility you said. It's important. And I'm also, the Socratic method, because of the format I'm in, and the pressure I'm under for content teaching, I don't have that freedom completely. I try to engage them as much as possible, but I'm interested in what, any of you know, what specific feedback have you received from your students that have helped you, specific remarks, comments, because I want to learn. You know, I'm a lifelong learner, but I want to learn how to make my teaching more effective. Thank you.
Okay, before that response here, I'm going to have two more questions. The lady here and the gentleman back there. Okay, and
I want to say this really quickly. Shout out to the Alliance and everybody that works on centering the humanity of people who are incarcerated.
Thank
The
you.
language we use when talking about incarcerated learners should be the language we use when we talk about traditional college students. They are students, they are people, they are learners.
one other thing is, the young woman over here, the state of Hawaii is the only state in the country that programs women first. They educationally, program-wise, so just keep that in your mind.
Just quickly to answer your question is just be relatable to your students. Sometimes you can be too far up here and you don't get on their level. And that's how you can be relatable to your students. Notice I said students. We don't call them, you know, some of those taboo words, we call them students. And so just like William said, students, that's what they are, students.
Definitely when you are teaching, especially if you don't have experience with the justice impacted, you want to talk to your students, not at your students. Engage the conversation, draw them in, ask them questions about the material. I don't think it's fun even for a traditional student to sit in a classroom and just listen to a professor, you know, talk for 2-3 hours. I think that can be quite boring even in a traditional setting. So in a prison setting especially, engagement is key. Engagement is absolutely key.
Okay. Oh, hi. So thank you so much. Both these panels were incredible. And I've been doing this work about almost 12 years, and I learned so much. So I just want to thank all of you guys, all of y'all. So my question, I have so many, but I'm going to focus on one. I do make an effort, well not make an effort, we have a number of faculty and fellows from all different walks of life, and formerly incarcerated. I think it's really important, like you all say, for the students to see that hope, inspiration. That's so interesting what you said. So what, for any of the panelists, would be your main piece of information or thing? Always include this for training for faculty, from incarcerated faculty for trans and different identities that they're bringing into space, so that they also feel ready and and prepared. So for faculty, and then have you ever worked with engaging officers in training with faculty?
Before we, this is definitely, we are about to be, I'm going to probably over chastisement on the formal comments. Incarcerated person, excuse me, someone who's going to worry about that.
Yeah, I'll say it real quick. And it's something he said earlier is that the instructors, if a person signs up to be an instructor inside of the prison, they have to have the passion to want to do that. It's not just like a job that they saw online because they needed, a job. And it's not just something that was given to them because they knew somebody in the prison. And it's not something they get because they want to be virtue signaling to the world. It's something that they genuinely care about the education of the students, because all of that other stuff it's gonna be noticeable to the students who can see right through that they're not genuine. And so you don't have to have been to prison to relate to them. You don't have to have been on drugs or anything like that. With all the lived experience, if you genuinely care about the transformation of the students in the vehicle of education, then I think that's one of the most important things for faculty.
Good morning. My name is Javier Reyes. I'm the CEO and founder of Challenge to Change. I'm a Northwestern Fellow and a new Education Trust Fellow. Our present population is at 39,000 approximately, and only 2% of that population is enrolled in higher education in prison. Are you guys following that trend as far as population and see how many are enrolled in school, and if there's anything that's being done to boost those numbers up?
I don't know the exact numbers that we have in Colorado. I can't speak to the exact numbers as far as percentage-wise, but I can speak anecdotally for myself, and this is something that I'm sure a lot of the panelists that have been incarcerated can speak about. My first semester, I had about 17 students, okay? The second semester, that jumped up to over 40. They actually had to break the classes up into several different cohorts. After I was released and I came back to teach my first class on the inside, there were a lot of the men that were coming to me talking about how they joined this program or that program. Maybe not necessarily the program I was teaching, but got involved in other academic programs. So as we begin to show them what's possible, all of us, this community here, that's going to inspire that continued growth, right? So I can see in the future that there's going to be more interest in higher education when people start to see tangible results from examples like us on this panel here who have done it, who have lived it 30 plus years, and now, with a natural life sentence, and here I'm out. When the fellows learned about that in the Colorado system, enrollment in education spiked.
Before we get somebody else or something, I apologize. We have a few more minutes, so if anybody else has some more questions, the last really crazy sometimes.
While we get the mic to someone else, I just wanted to add something to the previous question that was asked about processes by which things that should be done or shouldn't be done. So I teach for UCLA's prison education program, and we vet our students and the faculty, right? So we also teach classes where some of our students are UCLA campus-based students, and then prison-based students for UCLA. And we vet our UCLA outside students before they can enter. We also vet our faculty because not everybody should be in here, and that's the reality, right? We're not that desperate, you know what I mean? I think it's important, not everyone should be allowed to go, and you can do more harm than good. And if you're going in there to save somebody, they're not waiting for us to save them. You know what I mean? So if you're we need numbers, we need faculty, you gotta rethink your model, because that's already harmful in and of itself, that you're willing to take someone who will use harmful language, who has no experience or connection with the students. So I think that in addition to unlearning, I think we gotta also filter people out.
So just yes, 100%. I was kind of in the process. It's important super much. I was totally
Thank you all so much for everything you're sharing. I'm formerly incarcerated myself. I'm a PhD student at UCR. I owe a lot to that. Around like 2012, when all this happened to me, I had a life sentence, but they gave me an alternative sentence and to go back to school. And one thing I noticed was there were no programs at the time. Like I wasn't introduced to anything for like formerly incarcerated students. People didn't really want to fuck with me. And I understood why at the time. There was a lot of dehumanization about that. Now that I'm in this program, I've had this emotional upheaval as a PhD student. Everything that I'm witnessing in the world, everything that's going on with dehumanizing people in so many different ways, but a lot related to mass incarceration. And I'm writing courses now for the prison and that we're working in. And I'm writing a writing course on abolition and liberation because they were telling me we're noticing these students are still struggling with their writing. So can you help with that? And I'm like, well, yeah, but also I want to give them the tools that I have in order to understand my situation. But all day yesterday, I was like, I'm angry. I'm having these visceral body experiences with anger at the lack of conversation around abolition. But today here, I'm realizing it's not anger, it's grief. And I'm realizing that because of everything y'all are sharing, and I'm hoping you can provide me advice because as real as I want to be with these students, I also want to be emotionally sound and connected and grounded so that I can provide them hope. And I'll be like, hey, what's going on the outside is freaking me the hell out because they're coming after educators and they have been, and you need to know. I want to give them hope and inspiration when some days I still don't have it because I'm still being dehumanized out here, whether or not I'm incarcerated. And so I'm hoping you can tell me what I should be doing as an upcoming professional in this field.
I'm going to give a little bit of a fluffy answer, if that's okay. But I felt exactly that in a similar way as soon as Utah passed our anti-trans bill, where I was immediately surveilled in a much different way than I had been like outside the prison. I mean, I walk into a bathroom and everybody's already wondering things, or specifically women's bathroom, but it was immediately now a threat of incarceration. And I tried to remember something. I spoke to some mentors on campus, and this kind of what stuck with me is this idea that anger and grief is righteous. That's not okay. Right now, at the end of the day, not enough of us are pissed off right now, and we're realizing enough of us are surprised, but not enough of us are pissed off. So I just kind of wanted to say that I just want to share that with you, that's what's helped me. So remember that the feelings I have right now are righteous, very righteous.
I'll just say really quickly, if you're not already involved with a group like FICGN, formerly Incarcerated College Grad Network, or Stanley Andres and Prison to Professionals, those are two like instrumentally important things for folks like us to be networked with. But then aside from that, just any sort of informal group, regular communication and talk with other people who are going through the similar journey is going to be one of the most important elements to continue on with your journey. So like Tracy and I have online support groups that we do every week. His is for long timers, what we call long timers, people that did more than 10 or 15 years. Mine is pretty much for anybody, but just staying connected with people who are going through a similar journey. So FICGN, Prison to Professionals, those are two great groups, and then some of the things that we do as well.
And then Shane as well. It says everybody home from 5 to 6:30 at Trust. Tonight we'll be doing like a gallery wall. We'll have an activity where people can kind of center their humanity and making protest signs and all that. We'll hang them, have a discussion. That's part of what we'll be going over is like grassroots organizing tools and how to get back to the old, which got us to the new.
I was just gonna add, and maybe, I was gonna encourage you to maybe bring some of those feelings back to the classroom. And to like hold space, because if you're feeling those feelings, right? If you're feeling anger, like imagine your students, right? And so like, I think I'm not, it's funny because I like to say I'm not an artist, but I do love art. I incorporate a lot of art into my classes. And I think using artistic avenues and bringing those into your class, and like if you're trying to bring in abolition, right? Like one thing that I've done that is like pretty like inconspicuous unless they're looking through all my papers, right? But what I've done is I've done blackout poems with my students, and I'll use pages from Abolition Feminism Now. And so then I'll encourage, because you said it's a writing class, right? So writing is expansive. Like invite them to be poets in that moment. And so like invite them to think with the piece of Abolition Feminism Now, or, you know, Miriam Cabo, whatever it might be. But the objective is poetry and writing, but you're also finding a subtle way, a very subversive way to also bring in abolition. And I think that those things can also like, I don't know, not just help you in your healing, but also your students. And then I think the last thing I'll say is, I love Miriam Kaba's work, right? Like I truly do believe, and you saw in the first slide, right? Like hope is a discipline. And in this moment, right, this administration is trying to threaten our hope. And so I think one of the things that we can most do is grasp onto that and find ways to continue to cultivate joy, to continue to maintain hope.
And I agree with that. But just, you know the environment you're going in. We also owe a duty to protect the students depending on where you're at. The way you enter a prison in Alabama is going to look different than California. Do not walk in there and have them folks write radically, and you know goodness well that's going to get them put on suicide watch and the program shut down. So don't stop doing the work you already know, but definitely I agree. But depends on where you are. If you're in Mississippi,
Yeah. That's right.
just mind that that's not New York City.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks everyone for sharing your experiences. My name is Lee, and I wanted to share a bit of information that I think might be relevant to this crowd. So I've flown in today from Mexico, where I lived with my partner who was deported after his incarceration. So I want to encourage all of you to think about your students who are undocumented or just individuals in your community. I've lived in Mexico over a decade, and I connect people to resources post-deportation. In fact, we have a reentry resource guide specifically for people who are deported, and we have a scholarship for deported people in Mexico. So please connect with me. I would love to help accompany your students through that traumatic experience.
No.
Hello, my name is Carrillo. I'm representing P2P. I just recently bought 5 buses over the National Federal Prison. And it made me want to continue my studies, so I actually took a correspondence class at Adams State. Adams State is the reason I'm here. Adams State gave me the confidence that I could be a student. I never was a good student. I was always in the streets. And Adams State gave me that confidence. And I transferred those credits in. I'm going to graduate with my associate's degree in a month. I did a 2 years. For someone like myself who has benefited from Adams State, how can I get back to the Alumni Association for the prison education program specifically, or the community or anything like that? How do I connect with other people that have been here?
Well, Adams State is in the house, so come talk to us.
I'm so proud of you. I just want to say, you made me smile last night. I'm in tears now. I just met him last night. I didn't know he took classes with us, and I'm really proud of him. And then cannot wait to hear when you graduate. So right now we don't have a really good way of connecting with alumni, but I think there's, Brandon had given me some really good ideas about like creating maybe a Facebook page where we can have like a group where people can just like find us online. So if you want to talk more, I have your phone numbers, let's talk about how we can get you connected. And then also, every time I come to a conference, I meet somebody that has taken Adams State classes at some point. And I don't know who they are, and we don't know who they are. Bethany is here, she works with Adams State, and Nick is our Associate Vice President of Adams State. So we want to know how we can connect with people. So also, if you have taken classes with Adams State, please come up to me and I'll figure out a way to get us connected. All right, thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists, and you guys get to give yourself an applause too. Come on. That's what you like yourself. One of the things, I've been to several of these conferences. I also work with the NEH, with the National Endowment with Humanity. Everybody knows what's going on there, courtesy of Donald Trump. One of the things that I always say at these conferences, collaborate, 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 collaborate. If you're not working, you're networking. I work with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Odyssey Beyond Bars program. You don't really realize how many of these programs exist until you come to these conferences. Outside of the conference, collaborate. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well done, y'all.
Thanks.